Hey guys, in this month's Historical Fiction 101, I'm going to be going through all of the historical fiction Goodreads nominees for 2021. So yeah, as I suggested at the top of this video, I'm going to be going through all of the Goodreads nominees for the historical fiction category, my personal favorite genre every year when it comes to the awards season, I guess, on Goodreads. And you guys, I was so looking forward to this category this year, and I'm so angry at myself because was I just reading all of the wrong historical fiction this year? Because not a single book that I read this year actually got on the list of nominees, and I'm so sad about that because I had nothing to vote for. I had nothing to vote for, unfortunately. And what's even more upsetting is that quite a number of the nominees on the list, I own the books, but I haven't got around to reading them this year at all. So that's even more upsetting. And also what I'm a little frustrated with, Goodreads took away the ability that you could put a write-in vote, because every year they do that you can, if you have someone you would like to nominate, they go through all the list of write-ins and they'll kind of add some of those in. But this year they totally took away that option, and I was really devastated about that because I was personally going to nominate Tip for the Hangman by Alison Epstein. That was my personal favorite historical fiction book this year, and I'm really devastated it didn't make the cut this year. But yeah, alas, what can you do? I'm just going to go through Goodreads. I'm going to just be going through all the synopses for all these books because I'm actually not quite sure what some of them are even about. So I'm going to be finding out right alongside some of you, perhaps. So let's get going. And as always, I'm going to be looking at my computer. I'm going to be on Goodreads, so if you need to follow along there or head there, go there. So let's start with Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. We take place in Malibu, August 1983. It's the day of Nina Riva's annual end of summer party, and anticipation is at a fever pitch. Everyone wants to be around the famous Rivas. Nina, the talented surfer and supermodel, brothers Jay and Hud, one of a championship surfer, the other a renowned photographer, and their adored baby sister Kit. Together, the siblings are a source of fascination in Malibu and the world over, especially as the offspring of the legendary singer Mick Riva. The only person not looking forward to the party of the year is Nina herself, who never wanted to be the center of attention, and who also has just been very publicly abandoned by her pro-tennis player husband. Oh, and maybe Hud, because it is a long past time to confess something to the brother from whom he's been inseparable since birth. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames. But before that first spark in the early hours before dawn, the alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shape this family's generations will all come bubbling to the surface. The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. Texas, 1921. A time of abundance. The Great War is over, the bounty of the land is plentiful, and America is on the brink of a new and optimistic era. But for Elsa Wolcott, deemed too old to marry in a time when marriage was a woman's only option, the future seems bleak, until the night she meets Rafe Martinelli and decides to change the direction of her life. With her reputation in ruin, there is only one respectable choice: marriage to a man she barely knows. By 1934, the world has changed. Millions are out of work, and drought has devastated the Great Plains. Farmers are fighting to keep their land and their livelihoods as crops fail and water dries up the earth, and the earth cracks open. Dust storms roll relentlessly across the plains. Everything on the Martinelli farm is dying, including Elsa's tenuous marriage. Each day is a desperate battle against nature and a fight to keep her children alive. In this uncertain and perilous time, Elsa, like so many of her neighbors, must make an agonizing choice. Fight for the land she loves, or leave it behind and go west to California in search of a better life for her family. Crossroads by Jonathan Franzen. It's December 23rd, 1971, and heavy weather is forecast for Chicago. Russ Hildebrandt, the associate pastor of a liberal suburban church, is on the brink of breaking free of a marriage he finds joyless, unless his wife Marion, who has her own secret life, beats him to it. Their eldest child, Clem, is coming home from college on fire with moral absolutism, having taken an action that will shatter his father. Clem's sister, Becky, long the social queen of her high school class, has sharply veered into the counterculture, while their brilliant younger brother, Perry, who's been selling drugs to 7th graders, oh my, has resolved to be a better person. Each of the Hildebrands seeks a freedom that each of the others threatens to complicate. The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray, and this is a book that I do own. You guys, like I said, quite a number of books on this list I do own, but I never got around to this year, and this is the first of them. In her 20s, Belle DaCosta Green is hired by J.P. Morgan to curate a collection of rare manuscripts, books, and artwork for his newly built Pierpont Morgan Library. Belle becomes a fixture on the New York society scene and one of the most powerful people in the art and book world, known for her impeccable taste and shrewd negotiating for critical works as she helps build a world-class collection. But Belle has a secret, one she must protect at all costs. She was born not Belle DaCosta Green, but Belle Marion Greener. She is the daughter of Richard Greener, the first black graduate of Harvard and a well-known advocate for equality. Belle's complexion isn't dark because of her alleged Portuguese heritage that lets her pass as white. Her complexion is dark because she is African American. Ooh, yeah, I really like the plot synopsis of this one. Next up, The Paris Library by Janet Skelsian Charles. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Once again, this is another book I own, but I never got around to this year, you guys. Paris, 1939. Young and ambitious Odile has it all. Her handsome police officer beau and a dream job at the American Library in Paris. When the Nazis march into Paris, Odile stands to lose everything she holds dear, including her beloved library. Together with her fellow librarians, Odile joins the resistance with the best weapons she has, books. But when the war finally ends, instead of freedom, Odile tastes the bitter sting of unspeakable betrayal. Ooh. The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. Another book I own but did not get around to. Esme is born into a world of words. Motherless and irrepressibly curious, she spends her childhood in the Scriptorium, a garden shed in Oxford where her father and a team of dedicated lexicographers are collecting words for the first Oxford English Dictionary. Young Esme's place is beneath the sorting table, unseen and unheard. One day, a slip of paper containing the word bondmaid flutters to the floor. She rescues the slip, and when she learns that the word means slave girl, she withholds it from the OED and begins to collect words that show women in a more positive light. As she grows up, Esme realizes that words and meanings relating to women's and common folks' experiences often go unrecorded, and so she begins in earnest to search out words for her own dictionary, the Dictionary of Lost Words. To do so, she must leave the sheltered world of the university and venture out to meet the people whose words will fill those pages. Next up, The Rose Code by Kate Quinn, another book I got but didn't get around to, and I really wanted to get around to this one too. 1940. As England prepares to fight the Nazis, three very different women answer the call to mysterious country estate Bletchley Park, where the best minds in Britain train to break German military codes. Vivacious debutante Osla is the girl who has everything: beauty, wealth, and the dashing Prince Philip of Greece sending her roses. But she burns to prove herself as more than a society girl, and puts her fluent German to use as a translator of decoded enemy secrets. Imperious self-made Mabe, a product of East and London poverty, works the legendary code-breaking machines as she conceals old wounds and looks for a socially advantageous marriage. Both Osla and Mabe are quick to see the potential in local village spinster Beth, whose shyness conceals a brilliant facility with puzzles, and soon Beth spreads her wings as one of the park's few female cryptanalysts. But war, loss, and the impossible pressure of secrecy will tear the three apart. So then we move to 1947. As the royal wedding of Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip whips post-war Britain into a fever, three friends turned enemies are reunited by a mysterious encrypted letter, the key to which lies buried in the long-ago betrayal that destroyed their friendship and left one of them confined to an asylum. The mysterious traitor has emerged from the shadows of the Bletchley Park past, and now Asla, Mabe, and Beth must resurrect their old alliance and crack one last code together. But each petal they remove from the rose code brings danger and their true enemy closer. Oh, I seriously wanted to get to this one so bad earlier in the year. Of Women and Salt by Gabriela Garcia. In present-day Miami, Jeanette is battling addiction. Daughter of Carmen, a Cuban immigrant, she is determined to learn more about her family history from her reticent mother and makes the snap decision to take in the daughter of a neighbor detained by ICE. Carmen, still wrestling with the trauma of displacement, must process her difficult relationship with her own mother while trying to raise a wayward Jeanette. Steadfast in her quest for understanding, Jeanette travels to Cuba to see her grandmother and reckon with secrets from the past destined to erupt. So then I guess when that happens, we are taken back to the 19th century cigar factories, to present-day detention centers from Cuba to Mexico. This is a kaleidoscopic portrait of betrayals, personal and political, self-inflicted, and those done by others, that have shaped the lives of the women in the story. A haunting meditation of the choices of mothers and the legacy of memories they carry, and the tenacity of women who choose to tell their stories despite those who wish to silence them. Next up, West with Giraffes by Linda Rutledge, another book I got this year, you guys, didn't get to, and I really wanted to get to this one as well because it has something to do with giraffes. It's 1938, the Great Depression lingers. Hitler is threatening Europe, and world-weary Americans long for wonder. They find in it two giraffes who miraculously survive a hurricane while crossing the Atlantic. What follows is a 12-day road trip in a custom truck to become Southern California's first giraffes. Behind the wheel is the young Dust Bowl Rowdy Woodrow. And yeah, it says it's inspired by true events, and including a zoo director who's like the first female zoo director, a crusty old man with a past, a young female photographer with a secret, and assorted reprobates as spotty as the giraffes. The Love Songs of W.E.B. Dubois. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Is it Dubois or Dubois? I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing it or not pronouncing it enough. The great scholar W.E.B. Dubois, or Dubois, whichever it is, once wrote about the problem of race in America and what he called double consciousness, a sensitivity that every African American possesses in order to survive. Since childhood, Ailey Pearl Garfield has understood Dubois' words all too well, bearing the names of two formidable Black Americans, the revered choreographer Alvin Ailey and her great-grandmother Pearl, the descendant of enslaved Georgians and tenant farmers. Ailey carries Dubois' problem on her shoulders. Ailey is reared in the North in the city, but spends summers in a small Georgia town, where her mother's family has lived since their ancestors arrived from Africa in bondage. From an early age, Ailey fights a battle for belonging that's made all the more difficult by a hovering trauma, as well as the whispers of women, her mother Belle, her sister Lydia, and a maternal line reaching back 2 centuries that urge Ailey to succeed in their stead. The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. It says here, a female apothecary secretly dispenses poisons to liberate women from the men who have wronged them, setting 3 lives across centuries on a dangerous collision course. So yeah, it looks like we take place on a cold evening in February 1791 at the back of a dark London alley in a hidden apothecary shop. Nella awaits her newest customer. Once a respected healer, Nella now uses her knowledge for a darker purpose, selling well-disguised poisons to desperate women who would kill to be free of the men in their lives. But when her new patron turns out to be a precocious 12-year-old named Eliza Fanning, an unexpected friendship sets in motion a string of events that jeopardizes Nella's world and threatens to expose the many women whose names are written in her register. Ooh. Small Pleasures by Claire Chambers. 1957. Jean Sweeney is a feature writer on a local paper in the southeast suburbs of London. Clever but with limited career opportunities and on the brink of 40, Jean lives a dreary existence that includes caring for her demanding widowed mother, who rarely leaves the home. It's a small life with little joy and no likelihood of escape. That all changes when a young woman, Gretchen Tilbury, contacts the paper to claim that her daughter is the result of a virgin birth. Jean seizes onto the bizarre story and sets out to discover whether Gretchen is a miracle or a fraud. But the more Jean investigates, the more her life becomes strangely and not unpleasantly intertwined with that of the Tilburys, including Gretchen's gentle and thoughtful husband Howard, who mostly believes his wife, and their quirky and charming daughter Margaret, who becomes a sort of surrogate child for Jean. Gretchen, too, becomes a much-needed friend in an otherwise empty social life. Jean cannot bring herself to discard what seems like her one chance at happiness, even as the story that she is researching starts to send dark ripples across their lives, with unimaginable consequences. The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. Isaiah was Samuel's and Samuel was Isaiah's. That was the way it was since the beginning, and the way it was to be until the end. In the barn they tended to the animals, but also to each other, transforming the hollowed-out shed into a place of human refuge, a source of intimacy and hope in a world ruled by vicious masters. But when an old man, a fellow slave, seeks to gain favor by preaching the master's gospel on the plantation, the enslaved begin to turn on their own. Isaiah and Samuel's love, which was once so simple, is seen as sinful and a clear danger to the plantation's harmony. Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. After being rescued as infants from a sinking ocean liner in 1914, Marion and Jamie Graves are raised by their dissolute uncle in Montana. There, after encountering a pair of barnstorming pilots passing through town in beat-up biplanes, Marion commences her lifelong love affair with flight. At 14, she drops out of school and finds an unexpected and dangerous patron in a wealthy bootlegger who provides a plane and subsidizes her lessons, an arrangement that will haunt her for the rest of her life, even as it allows her to fulfill her destiny, circumnavigating the globe by flying over the North and South Poles. A century later, Hadley Baxter is cast to play Marion in a film that centers on Marion's disappearance in Antarctica. Vibrant, canny, disgusted with the claustrophobia of Hollywood, Hadley is eager to redefine herself after a romantic film franchise has imprisoned her in the grip of cult celebrity. Her immersion into the character of Marion unfolds thrillingly alongside Marion's own story as the two women's fates and their hunger for self-determination in vastly different geographies and times collides. Epic and emotional, meticulously researched and gloriously told, this book is a monumental work of art and a tremendous leap forward for the prodigiously gifted author. The Lincoln Highway by Amor Tolles. It's June 1954. 18-year-old Emmett Watson is driven home to Nebraska by the warden of the work farm where he has just served a year for involuntary manslaughter. His mother long gone, his father recently deceased, and the family farm foreclosed upon the bank. Emmett's intention is to pick up his 8-year-old brother and head west where they can start their lives anew. But when the warden drives away, Emmett discovers that two friends from the work farm have hidden themselves in the trunk of the warden's car. Together, they have hatched an altogether different plan for Emmett's future. Next up, Hour of the Witch by Chris Bojalian. I'm probably pronouncing that quite wrong. Once again, another book I have but have not read. Boston, 1662. Mary Deerfield is 24 years old. Her skin is porcelain, her eyes delft blue, and in England she might have had many suitors. But here in the New World, amid this community of saints, Mary is the second wife of Thomas Deerfield, a man as cruel as he is powerful. When Thomas, prone to a drunken rage, drives a 3-tined fork into the back of Mary's hand, she resolves that she must divorce him to save her life. But in a world where every neighbor is watching for signs of the devil, a woman like Mary, a woman who harbors secret desires and finds it difficult to tolerate the brazen hypocrisy of so many men in the colony, soon finds herself the object of suspicion and rumor. When tainted objects are discovered buried in Mary's garden, when a boy she has treated with herbs and simples dies, and when their servant girl runs screaming in fright from her home, Mary must fight to not only escape her marriage, but also the gallows. Sounds great, you guys. Can't wait to get to that. The Sweetness of Water by Nathan Harris. In the waning days of the Civil War, brothers Prentice and Landry, freed by the Emancipation Proclamation, seek refuge on the homestead of George Walker and his wife Isabel. The Walkers, wrecked by the loss of their only son to the war, hire the brothers to work their farm, hoping through an unexpected friendship to staunch their grief. Prentice and Landry, meanwhile, plan to save money for the journey north and a chance to reunite with their mother, who was sold away when they were boys. Parallel to their story runs a forbidden romance between two Confederate soldiers. The young men, recently returned from the war to the town of Odox, hold their trysts in the woods, but when their secret is discovered, the resulting chaos, including a murder, unleashes convulsive repercussions on the entire community. In the aftermath of so much turmoil, it is Isabel who emerges as an unlikely leader, proffering a healing vision for the land and for the newly free citizens of Odox. Yellow Wife by, oh lord, I'm going to butcher this one, you guys. Sadika Johnson? Born on a plantation in Charles City, Virginia, Phoebe Brown was promised her freedom on her 18th birthday. But when her birthday finally comes around, instead of the idyllic life she was hoping for with her true love, she finds herself thrust into the bowels of slavery at the infamous Devil's Half Acre, a jail where slaves are broken, tortured, and sold every day. Forced to become the mistress of the brutal man who owns the jail, Phoebe faces the ultimate sacrifice to protect her heart in this powerful, thrilling story of one slave's fight for freedom. The final revival of Opal and Nev by Donnie Walton. Opal is a fiercely independent young woman pushing against the grain in her style and attitude. Coming of age in Detroit, she can't imagine settling for a 9-to-5 job, despite her unusual looks. Opal believes she can be a star. So when the aspiring British singer-songwriter Neville Charles discovers her at a bar's amateur night, she takes him up on his offer to make rock music together for the fledgling Rivington Records. In early 70s New York City, just as she's finding her niche as part of a flamboyant and funky creative scene, a rival band signed to her label brandishes a Confederate flag at a promotional concert. Opal's bold protest and the violence that ensues sets off a chain of events that will not only change the lives of those she loves, but also be a deadly reminder that repercussions are always harsher for women, especially black women who dare to speak the truth. Eternal by Lisa Scottoline. Elisabetta, Marco, and Sandro grow up as the best of friends despite their differences. Elisabetta is a feisty beauty who dreams of becoming a novelist. Marco, the brash and athletic son, is in a family of professional cyclists, and Sandro, a Jewish mathematics prodigy, kind-hearted and thoughtful, the son of a lawyer and a doctor. Their friendship blossoms to love, with both Sandro and Marco hoping to win Elisabetta's heart. But in the autumn of 1937, all of that begins to change as Mussolini asserts his power, aligning Italy's fascists with Hitler's Nazis, and altering the very laws that govern Rome. In time, everything that the three hold dear, their families, their homes, and their connection to one another, is tested in ways they never could have imagined. Ooh, dramatic. So you guys, that is it for the 20 books that were nominated this year on Goodreads in the historical fiction category. Like I said, so many of the books I just didn't get around to reading, and I was a little devastated by like some of my personal choices. Like I said, I really wanted a tip for the Hangman to make the list because I freaking love that book this year. But what can you do? So you guys, how did you feel about the list of nominees this year? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were there some personal choices of yours, books that you enjoyed that you wish had made the cut this year? So yeah, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.